Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Legend of Korra Book 2 episode commentary track. This one's going to be for K210, K210, A New Spiritual Age, the 10th episode of Book 2 Spirits. This commentary will start with the opening to the episode, so make sure that you have your version of the episode ready to go, including that opening that obviously starts with Fire, Earth, Air, Water with the avatars. I'm going to stop speaking now in a moment, and then when I start speaking once again, that's when you hit play, and that's when you'll be synced up with my commentary track. So I'm going to stop speaking now. Okay, so here we are with K210, A New Spiritual Age, episode 10, and definitely pretty much the most spirit world focused episode in that we actually get the most explanation about some of the, I suppose, technicalities about how the spirit world works and stuff like that. Some stuff we never really knew about before in regards to the spirit world, and some really interesting stuff. Um, I suppose one thing a lot of people were expecting going into this episode was for there to be a huge focus on the Korra Jinora relationship, as basically Jinora being her guide. We get a little bit at the start, and there is a pretty clear contrast between the two in regards to how confident they are about spiritual matters. But pretty soon, the episode transitions into it being very core focused and just her fears about being in the spirit world and her trying to get over that. Um, and then we have a few little moments with Tenzin obviously being concerned about his daughter coming back, it being dangerous in the spirit world with so much stuff going on. And the cliffhanger from the last episode was that Unalaq was told by Vatu that Korra and Jinora are in the spirit world, so he's coming for them, which is obviously a risk throughout the whole episode. And the siblings still have these little issues, but they're more joking about them here. They're kind of past most of their major issues here, which I like. And they're kind of very supportive of him here. They realize that this is a kind of big issue for him, having his daughter in the spirit world, especially given how much he wanted it to be him. Obviously, this is Studio Mirror back on animation. And the spirit world just looks amazing here. It's just really so good looking. This light section of the spirit world is really cool. Just some amazing animations, amazing designs for the spirits. Very Miyazaki inspired, as has been stated before by the creative team. And we see kind of Jinora run off like immediately, showing that she still is a kid. She's not really this like serious guide. She's helped Korra get this far, but they quickly get separated. And Korra quickly gets overwhelmed by just the spirits kind of talking at her and not being very friendly to her. And she's trying to be friendly, but quickly gets flustered. And we see that Jinora is well aware that in the spirit world, your emotions kind of determine your reality. And so when she gets flustered and angry, it kind of changes the world around her. That her getting angry doesn't turn them so much as into dark spirits, but it gets them angry, and we sort of see them beginning to turn into dark spirits. And she runs to help, but we see like we're about 3 minutes into the episodes, but that's including the opening. So like we're under 2 minutes in when the two get separated, and I think that's interesting decision, definitely. But I suppose it's a ultimately, I think Korra's journey throughout this episode is so well done that it kind of works that you have the two separated, because it creates a really dramatic situation at the end of this episode and going into the finale as well. Again, just some this sequence is really well animated because it's so crazy. Just this upside down section of the spirit world, they come to a fork in the road and get separated, go down different paths, and come out at these different points, which is kind of symbolic to each of their own kind of opinions on the spirit world right now. Korra is afraid, and so ends up in a dark spirit section of the world, while Janora is not afraid of the spirit world and ends up in more or less the same position she started in. And really interesting point coming up here that I think a lot of people didn't quite get the reasoning behind it, just looked at it as a kind of random kind of moment. But the reason she kind of turns around here and we return to her as her younger self is because it signifies basically how afraid she is. She feels like she's this young girl who doesn't have all this power because she obviously can't bend coming into the spirit world this way, and so she feels that she's helpless right now, and that's why her basically reality looks like that. That it is her younger self trapped in this forest, unable to do anything. Well, we see Janora here, who's basically in the same position, though she's younger than Korra, is still confident that the spirit world is still like a good place, and she sees Furryfoot, and this is what he really looks like. That's how big he really is, which is incredible. But he still behaves exactly like a spirit rabbit. And Furryfoot is very much willing to help Janora, just really just these kind of lovely moments with Janora compared to the kind of dramatic moments with Korra, just showing that having a positive attitude towards things can really help you out in the spirit world. Where, as I said, your feelings on things really determines how things actually are, especially for Korra as the Avatar. And here we see Wan Shi Tong's library kind of upside down in the spirit world. Obviously, he's brought it back. When he said he was bringing it back, he literally brought it back to the spirit world where it was originally from, which is a nice reference in itself. And then this is a key point here. Korra, in her fear, slaps this bird away, not really knowing if it was going to attack her or if it's just flying by. And she realizes straight away that she's kind of hurt someone kind of just as young as herself right now. And this is kind of a key thing in that, like, fear kind of causes these things, and she has to kind of journey to not just help herself, but help this bird find its way, and through that she'll find her own way. And then, what a great surprise! Book two character Iroh returning. This was fantastic. Like, we knew all about Wan and stuff like that, um, but the return of Iroh was just no one really, I think, expected or predicted it to happen. So it was fantastic when it did. And Iroh obviously redirects her back to a light area of the spirit world. This is where Iroh's living. Here, I didn't actually notice it initially in the first like 2 or 3 times I watched the episode, but this is a two-headed frog. I don't know how I missed it in the first place. It's just some weird stuff in the spirit world. The spirit world is very mysterious, as is love. It's perfect, Iroh. There's no real change in his character from here to here, apart from being more wise about the spirit world. And then Cora Baker, D. Bradley Baker's daughter, is the voice of younger Cora, the same from book one. So she does a great job with more dialogue here. Again, fantastic reference to beginnings with the teapot. Iroh finds it. He's so related to tea, and he's the one to find it. It's a great reference. The music that plays, the taste a little bit of light in every cup. It's a fantastic line, and just gives Korra this new kind of opinion on the spirit world that a little bit of light can really help, which is key going into the finale, is key in this episode, and is overall kind of part of the theme of this episode, that you can find light in the dark. Foxy knowledge seekers all around the place. And then Wan Shi Tong makes his return. We knew about this going in because it was in the first trailer. So this is why Iroh is even more of a reaction. But then the Zay reference, I expected him to be addressed, but I did expect him to be alive. So to find that Wan Shi Tong hasn't changed at all and didn't even care about Zay dying says a lot about him as a character. And the one thing about his inclusion is that I wished he had more of a character arc as opposed to just coming across as the guy helping Unalaq for some reason, and he kind of has this weird relation to Vatu through Unalaq. Um, I wish they kind of would go back and maybe do something with him as in terms of a character, because he seems to really hate humans and not think twice about helping the destruction of the human race in any way. Like, would he not turn into a dark spirit too? But Janora kind of tells Wan Shi-tong something he doesn't know, and I think it's a great moment for her. Kiernan Shipka, I believe, is the voice actress for Janora, and she does a good job here too. Great, great line from Wan Shi-tong there. That line is funny simply because Wan Shi-tong should not like Wan Shi-tong should not like Aang, and so he's willing to help her. But we later find out that he's actually kind of working for Unalaq, so he's willing to let her go through with that, even though he probably hates her because of what happened with Aang before. Um, but yeah, as I was saying, I really wish they'd done some more character stuff with Wan Shi-tong, because really he comes across as a bit of a villain towards humanity, just through this book. Even the spirits can't grasp Pai Sho at times. And here's the explanation for Iroh being in the spirit world. In that, when he was dying, I suppose, in the physical world, he moved his spirit into the spirit world so he could basically be here forever. And I assume to some extent that's to just promote light in the spirit world, uh, gain friends with the spirits, and also maybe help know that he would maybe have to help the Avatar at some point. And the mention of friends obviously makes Korra upset because Janora is gone, and she really does care about Janora. I think in part because she has to look after Janora, because Tenzin's kind of put that on her. You have to protect her. And an upset Korra begins to turn the place around her basically into a dark area of the spirit world, and just her emotions are turning the spirits dark. And as the Avatar, she can cause this much stuff to happen, and it's a really interesting dynamic over the course of the episode. And I think it really only works because you have the younger Korra, because otherwise it kind of really comes across as Iroh talking down to Korra over the course of the episode. So to have her appear as her younger self makes it not such a big deal, where he's not just talking to this 17-year-old teenager who's basically an adult about this sort of stuff, that he's more talking to a much younger girl, which Iroh's wisdom really kind of suits. And straight away she develops and just apologizes, has this more bright outlook on things, and it changes back to normal, which is kind of key. And one of Iroh's best lines is coming up at some point in this episode. I think it's just before he leaves her. Yeah, there it is. If you look for the light, you can often find it, but if you look for the dark, that is all you will ever see. Really key line. And she immediately takes this as, if I wish it, it will happen. And while her emotions do affect things around her, it's not that easy. You can change a lot of the physical aspects of the spirit world, but not something like that. You can't just make someone appear in front of you. And I like that the bird became this kind of plot point, that she had hurt it in her fear, and for her to get over her fear, the key was her to bring this guy on his journey home. He's a dragon bird. Whenever everyone thought going in that he was a phoenix, so going into like book 3 and 4, we still don't actually know what a phoenix is in the Avatar world. With regards to, is it a legendary animal or what? But either way, pretty cool idea. One of the most interesting things I found about Wan Shi Tong is that the knowledge seekers don't seem to like agree. Don't necessarily just seem to be an extension of Wan's kind of view on things. They Wan isn't willing to help Janora himself, but these knowledge seekers will just help anyone. They even help Aang when he goes there. Now they help Janora when he's here, while Wan Shi Tong hates humans. So there is an interesting story to have there with the whole Wan Shi Tong thing. Here's the first mention that the tree is called the Tree of Time. And here's the revelation that if the portals remain closed, harmonic convergence won't be fought, basically. But if they're open, it will be fought again, and Batu will have enough power to break free, which we know is later what happens. But that's the kind of plot thing going into the episode, that Korra has to stop the last spirit portal, the second spirit portal being opened, uh, because if she does that, harmonic convergence will come and go with no problem. But if she doesn't, harmonic convergence is on, and she has to fight Vatu, basically. And then this was the kind of shock. We're pretty decent way into the episode. We haven't seen Unalaq yet at all, planning or anything like that yet. He just appears here suddenly, and it's a great shock, especially to see him working with Wan Shutong. And then, yeah, again, the thing here is that he was directing that question really towards Wan Shitong, but he didn't answer. And I think that's why I think there was a kind of missed opportunity including Wan Shitong in this episode, in that I would love to hear his answer to that question. Like, does he have any thoughts on the idea of Vasu escaped or anything like that? Does he even care about any of the worlds? Does he care if the world is dark or not? Um, because to me, if the human race is kind of taken over by Vatu, that means less and less knowledge will kind of come into his library. So he kind of becomes kind of obsolete as a spirit. So it doesn't seem like a good thing for him to happen. So that's why I think there's still a lot more to come with him. Korra can change the world around her. And here's the explanation about the whole Korra thing. She thought she was scared in the dark, but now in the light, he's friendly and cute. And it's just this whole thing about light and dark, and that like how it can change your perceptions on things, and there's a balance to it, and really kind of deep episode when you really get into it. There's a lot of good stuff going on, and what a great decision to have Cora Baker kind of reprise her role as younger Cora for this episode, and because it's just it's this nice kind of symbolic thing throughout the episode to have Cora be younger and then have this journey to eventually kind of revert to seeing herself as her kind of older, stronger self, which not just makes her kind of become that strong person again, but it improves her as a like person as well. She basically learns not to fear the spirit world in this episode, and is one of the key things, and learns a lot about light and dark balance and how important she can be in all of this. This is a key. This is the key point. Like they just look that way because they're dark, and she can change things around her. And this is the real kind of Avatar Messiah moment. She just stays positive, and suddenly the darkness surrounding this mountain just disappears away. These like fearsome animals just become really friendly, and it's just the big kind of hero moment for younger Korra here. Some really great music here. As you kind of hear this kind of traveling music in the spirit world, they'd better make a book two spirit soundtrack. I know Nickelodeon have made some comments about it, like, oh, the book one needs to sell more, but they should just do that. They'll make more money just putting a pre-order out for it. But really, interesting decision to as well just have the bird merge with three others to become the adult dragon bird. But it kind of makes sense that she returns it to its nest, and like she returns to her older self, the bird also returns to its older self too, and that's the kind of spirit bond that they have. Really nice moment. And here's the explanation for what that bird that Korra was flying on in the first Korra trailer as well. So that's cool. And as she moves away, the other spirits follow her, which is a key point. I don't think she's aware that they're being followed. There's the Tree of Time. And then interesting that they have the episode go from just a really big hero moment, Korra's finally made a huge step in her development, to suddenly she's helpless because of Janora being in the spirit world and the hostage situation. It's really kind of important stuff. And Korra and Vaatu speak for the first time, I think. She had to close the portal. She's confident she's not going to let him get out. But he obviously has a plan with Unalaq, and we see Unalaq really just has lost all sense of humanity. He's willing to kill Jinora, a young kid, just to get his own way, and there's Furryfoot, dark spirit form. And Korra's really left with no choice here. She has to open the portal. And I know a lot of people complain about not a lot of people. There are some people who kind of completely disagree with her decision here, but to me, it's like you let Jinora die and don't open the portal, but then still be left there and potentially be forced to do it anyway, or have Jinora survive, open it, and then still have the potential to then save Jinora at some point and save the day with the portals and all of that stuff. So I think she makes the logical point. Really butchered trying to actually say that point just because I was trying to also listen to the episode, but I think you got what I was trying to say. Basically, one way guarantees Jinora's death, the other makes her safe, and there's still the potential for her to solve the whole harmonic convergence thing too. So she's forced to open the other portal, basically leaving both open, and harmonic convergence can now happen when it eventually comes. But the thing is that even though she's done that, Unalaq's not going to just agree to let them leave. As much as he's not going to kill Jinora, he's also not going to give her back to Korra as well. That wasn't part of the deal, apparently. And then this is what happens to your spirit when it's attacked by someone who brings their bending into the spirit world, which is a key point in itself, that if you just walk into the spirit portal's body and soul, basically, you bring your bending with you and it can bend in the spirit world. But if you don't have your bending, just your soul, you could still be like hurt, and that's why we see Korra kind of pixelating and not fully being destroyed, and that's why she can I assume the only way to really kill someone in the spirit world is to do something like this, like permanently taint their energy, like Unalaq does with his dark bending technique here. I was expecting almost some Avatar state type moment to happen here, but I was wondering kind of how that would happen with outspending her body in the spirit world. But something with Rava potentially could have happened. But her spirit bird saves her, but Jinora is still unsafe, and that's a key point. And now we know that basically Vaatu is going to escape. Harmonic convergence is, I think at this point, stated to be very much under like a week away, so she's only got a few days to get in there, save Jinora, and close the portals again before everything goes wrong at harmonic convergence. And then what a sad way to close the episode. Just, there's no real words, it's just the animation on their facial expressions, and then Tenzin's like line, what happened to my little girl, as he kind of looks at Korra, he's just like, oh, this is a terrible way to end the episode. This is so sad. Korra's reaction is just like, I'm so sorry, without actually saying as much. It wasn't her fault. She did everything she could. Her making the decision she did saved Jinora, putting the world at risk. Korra did everything she could, basically, as did Jinora. And it's just, this sad way. I remember, I think myself and Kelly on the podcast were kind of going like, please don't have Tenzin blame Korra for this. She has enough on her plate at this point in time. Don't have him blame her. Luckily, that wasn't the case, and they focused more on trying to get her back as opposed to blaming anyone. So that was a nice moment to have. But great emotional kind of cliffhanger to end the episode on, in terms of, okay, not just the world is at risk, we got to get Jinora back. There's a real personal stake in this final thing as well, so that was good. And it kind of puts Korra in this position where she's developed spiritually, yet she has this kind of had this kind of failure too, so she hasn't fully got that moment where she's just developed and something's gone right for her. Everything has been, she's just about gotten to that moment where she's developed, she's gotten past the problem with her parents, they're arrested, and she's forced to kind of leave and try and stop the war that's just happened. And that kind of halts her development there. Here she kind of develops spiritually, but before she can like fully kind of gain a huge positive from that, obviously the whole kidnapping situation happens here. And then finally she's going to get her big kind of moment to kind of just develop and have her moment in the finale itself. So lots of interesting stuff to come, but from here on out we're into the basically the 4-part finale. Next is K211, and Night of 1,000 Stars, a big Bolin episode there, so I'm really excited to do that one. He gets his big moment at last. But thanks for listening to this commentary for A New Spiritual Age. Thanks for listening, and bye.